Motorcycles. Motorcycles. The information in this section is for two-wheeled motorcycles only. To get a permit or license for a three-wheeled motorcycle or a motorcycle with a sidecar, refer to the Three-Wheeled Motorcycle Handbook. How to get license/permit. To get your permit, you must be at least 15 years old and take a knowledge test at one of SC DMV's driver's license examining offices. Rules that cover driver permits for other vehicles also apply to you, except that you may not operate a motorcycle, motor scooter, or light motor-driven cycle from midnight to 6 a.m. with a beginner's permit unless you are accompanied by a Class M licensed parent or guardian. If you are 15 or 16 years of age, you must also pass a driver's education course before you apply for your motorcycle license. Courses offered by the Motorcycle Safety Foundation do not meet the driver's education requirement. Your knowledge test consists of multiple choice questions with 3 or 4 possible answers, only one of which is correct. You will need to study all of the materials in this guide except the section for truck drivers in order to pass the test. After you have had your permit at least 180 days, you may take the motorcycle skills test. Getting to know your motorcycle. Know your vehicles and its controls. In order to become a safe operator, you must learn the location and smooth operation of the motorcycle's controls. Most two-wheel motor vehicles have standard controls located about the same places on all models. The accelerator is controlled with the right hand grip. The rear brake is operated with one foot, usually the right, and the opposite foot operates the gear shift. The lever on the right handlebar operates the front wheel brake. The clutch control is located on the left handlebar. This location eliminates the necessity for removing the hand from the grip. Make sure your clutch lever is at a right angle from your wrist. Having to reach up or down for a lever is not only unsafe, it is much more tiring to the operator. How to accelerate. A beginner who twists on a large handful of throttle and lets the clutch out too abruptly will find his speed very difficult to manage. Most motorcycles have enough power to start the back wheel spinning violently under these conditions. Practice rolling on the throttle gently and smoothly while letting out the clutch the same way. The mark of a veteran rider is his ability to ease off from a stop quietly and smoothly. Learn to shift smoothly. If your motorcycle is equipped with a foot lever type gear shift, as most motorcycles now are, smooth shifting is not difficult. It is possible to go through the gears quickly and quietly. The experienced rider can shift into a higher or lower gear at will without grating noises coming from the gearbox. Decelerate just before downshifting when approaching a traffic signal or a stop sign, and at other places where you are required to come to a stop. Brake. Use both brakes every time you slow or stop. Using both brakes for even normal stops will permit you to develop the proper habit or skill of using both brakes properly in an emergency. Squeeze the front brake and press down on the rear. Grabbing at the front brake or jamming down on the rear can cause the brakes to lock, resulting in control problems. Steering the motorcycle. You must demonstrate proficiency in turning and handling a motorcycle before you can be licensed to operate one. You must constantly allow for such hazards as loose sand, pebbles, mud, moisture, or wet leaves on the pavement, as well as the oil slick in the middle of the travel lane. In winter, allow for ice and snow. All of these factors can cause the wheels to slide from under you. Following are some safety tips for the motorcyclist. 1. Slow to a safe speed before turning. 2. Lean in the direction you wish to go, turning slightly. Handlebars will turn almost by themselves with no apparent effort on your part. Learn through practice the correct amount of lean. A passenger should lean with the driver. 3. Avoid dragging your feet on the roadway by keeping them on the footrests except in emergencies. A quick stab with the foot can sometimes correct the skid, but this is a tricky business and should be done with great caution. Railroad tracks. You don't have to cross railroad tracks head-on at a 90-degree angle. Usually, it's safer to take the tracks as they come, riding straight within your lane. A motorcycle can cross tracks at an angle as sharp as 45 degrees without difficulty. Changing your course to take tracks head-on can be more dangerous than crossing at an angle, which may carry you into another lane of traffic. Slow down and check conditions carefully before crossing. You do need to change direction, however, to cross something that runs in the same direction you are going. For example, you may wish to cross trolley tracks, ruts in the middle of the road, or pavement seams that run parallel to your course. To cross these tracks safely, move far enough away to be able to cross them at an angle of at least 45 degrees, and then make a quick, sharp turn across. Do not try to edge across. The tracks or a seam could catch your tires and throw you off balance. Cross tracks with caution, riding straight within your lane. Preparing to ride. Protective clothing. Protective clothing is necessary for safe riding. The smart rider wears clothing that covers the entire body. Heavier material furnishes the most protection. Brightly colored materials will make it easier for other motorists to see you. A long-sleeve shirt or jersey or a leather jacket can be protective in a case of a fall. Long pants, especially heavy denim, and full-finger gloves are also good protection. When riding a cycle of any kind, dress for the occasion, for safety and your life. Proper footwear. Laced-up boots are best, but high-top boots or heavy shoes that support your ankles are fine. Never ride barefooted. Riding around in light clothing and without proper shoes may look sporty, but if you have to leave the bike in a hurry, there's nothing to protect you between your body and the surface on which you are traveling. Protective helmet. South Carolina law requires motorcycle operators and passengers under 21 years of age to wear approved motorcycle helmets at all times while they are riding a motorcycle. Statistics prove that most motorcycle fatalities are the result of head injuries received in collisions. Properly constructed helmets provide a high degree of protection from the fractures, abrasions, and other injuries which are so common to the victims of motorcycle collisions. In South Carolina, drivers and passengers under the age of 21 are required by law to wear a helmet and eye protection while riding. Eye protection. State law requires operators under 21 years of age to provide themselves with some acceptable type of eye protection while riding. This may be in the form of face shields attached to helmets or goggles. Dark, off-color protection should be worn on bright days, but should be avoided at night because the rider needs all available light to see the road ahead, and colored shields or lenses reduce the amount of light reaching the eyes. Flying insects and dirt, which are not diverted by proper eye protection devices, may not only cause damage to the eyes, but may also lead to temporary loss of control and thereby to collisions. You have chosen a motorcycle. You have chosen a motorcycle either for recreation or useful transportation. If you are just learning, choose a well-qualified instructor, preferably a mature person with several years of experience in operating a motorcycle. Where your practice is important. It should be removed from traffic congestion and other distractions. Learn to ride on a paved surface rather than an unpaved surface. Many learners easily master the fundamentals of riding. On the modern lightweight machines, balance is relatively simple. The bike will almost balance itself. You should always have the proper size of motorcycle for your size and weight. Recognize its limitations and keep the cycle in good repair. proper inspection and maintenance are important. You will enjoy the use of your motorcycle much more and in greater safety if it operates dependably. Getting comfortable on the motorcycle. You must be comfortable on your motorcycle in order to operate it safely. Enjoyment of your ride is increased by having the various components of the cycle fit you. Handlebars may be adjusted forward or back, and different style handlebars permit higher or lower grip. As a general rule, short, low bars are recommended for average driving. In some cases, motorcycle saddles can be positioned differently for greater comfort and convenience in riding. Position the gear lever where you can operate it easily with your toe. Make sure the clutch and brake levers are located on the bars in the positions that are comfortable for you. Make certain the transmission is in neutral before starting the engine. Most motorcycles have a neutral indicator on the speedometer which lights when the ignition switch is on and the cycle is in neutral. Make sure the fuel petcock is turned to the on position. The petcock is usually on the bottom of the gasoline tank. Depress the kickstarter as you turn on the throttle about halfway. Don't be afraid to kick using your full body weight. Practice operating the controls while the cycle is on the stand. Do this until you become familiar with the controls, or until you automatically know where each control is. This is essential to you in preventing or avoiding collisions. If you are trying out a strange motorcycle, don't attempt to ride it until someone has gone over the controls with you. They are generally similar on most models, but you need to know for certain. Check the brakes shortly after placing the motorcycle in motion. Defensive attitudes aid survival. In motorcycling, as in automobile driving, you must drive defensively to keep from having a collision. The cyclist's attitude towards driving plays a large role in his safety record. That is, developing a defensive attitude towards other traffic makes you more alert and prepared rider. You must never assume the other driver will give you the right of way. If you have any doubt about who has the right of way, you should always yield. Remember, a motorcycle is no match for an automobile or truck if there is a collision. Always assume that other motorists will do the unexpected. Do not assume other vehicles are watching for you. Be prepared to yield right of way when approaching vehicles, particularly at intersections and signals. Motorcycle safety. This manual cannot teach you how to control direction, speed, or balance. That's something you can only learn through practice. However, here are a few pointers to help you keep control and avoid collisions. When you travel on major streets with stop signs for crossing traffic, don't assume that vehicles on those streets will stop. For your own protection, slow down and prepare to stop in case other vehicles don't. When you are angry or upset, you're a good candidate for a collision, which the motorcyclist can never win. Never ride when you are tired or sleepy. Seeing and being seen. While it's most important to keep track of what's happening ahead, you can't afford to ignore what's happening behind. Traffic conditions can change quickly. By checking your mirrors every few seconds, you can keep track of the situation. Knowing what's going on behind you can help you make a safe decision about how to handle trouble ahead. For instance, if you know someone is following you too closely, you may decide to avoid a problem ahead by turning away from it, rather than by trying to stop quickly and risk being hit by the tailgater. Frequent mirror checks should be part of your normal scanning routine. Make a special point of using your mirrors in these situations. When you are stopped at an intersection, watch cars coming up from behind. If the driver isn't paying attention, he could be right on top of you before he sees you. Anytime you plan to change lanes, make sure no one is about to pass you. Anytime you slow down, it is especially important to check the driver behind you. He may not expect you to slow down, or he may be unsure about exactly where you will slow down. For example, he might see you signal a turn and think you plan to slow for a turn at a distant intersection rather than at a nearer driveway. Many motorcycles have rounded, convex mirrors. These give you a wider view of the road behind you than do flat mirrors. However, they also make cars seem farther away than they really are. If you are not used to convex mirrors, get familiar with them before you ride. Here's how. While you are stopped, pick out a parked car in your mirror. Try to form a mental image of how far away it is. Then turn around and look at it. See how close you came. Practice with your mirrors until you become a good judge of distance. Even then, allow extra distance before you change lanes. Head checks. Mirrors do a pretty good job of letting you see what is behind you, but motorcycles have blind spots just like cars. Before you change lanes or enter a lane of traffic, make sure to make a head check. Turn your head and look at traffic to the side. This is the only way you can be sure of spotting a car just about to pass you. On a road with several lanes, check the far lane as well as the one next to you. A driver in the distant lane may be headed for the same space you plan to take. Body position. To control a motorcycle well, your body must be in the proper position. Seat. Sit far enough forward so that your arms are slightly bent when you hold the handle grips. Bending your arms let you turn the handlebars without having to stretch. Hands. Hold the handle grips firmly. This will help you keep your grip if the motorcycle bounces. Start with your right wrist down. This will help you keep from accidentally using too much throttle, especially if you need to reach for the brake suddenly. Knees. Keep your knees against the gas tank. This will help you keep your balance as the motorcycle turns. Feet. Keep your feet firmly on the foot pegs. Firm footing can help you keep your balance. Don't drag your foot along the ground. If your foot catches on something, you could lose control of the motorcycle. Rear view mirror. South Carolina law requires every motorcyclist to be equipped with at least one rear view mirror. It is almost as important for a motorcyclist to know what is behind him as it is to know what is ahead. Since a look to the rear at the wrong time could easily contribute to a collision, the rear view mirror is the safest method of keeping tabs on what is behind you. A good practice to follow is to use the mirror often and to verify what you see in the mirror from time to time by turning to look back when it is safe to do so. Your position in highway lane. The motorcyclist may choose whether to ride near the right edge of a two-lane highway, in the center of the lane, or nearer to the center line. Generally, however, it is best to avoid the direct center of the lane because that's where oil drippings from other vehicles have coated the pavement. In the event of rain or the need for an emergency stop, the motorcycle's tires will have less traction there. Also, avoid painted lines on pavement when they are wet, as they are often more slippery than when they are dry. When following an automobile or truck, the motorcyclist's line of sight is greatly reduced if he is directly behind the vehicle ahead. By riding to the left side of the lane, he will have a better chance to avoid a rear-end collision with the vehicle if it should stop unexpectedly. Also, the leading driver will be able to see the motorcyclist in his outside rear-view mirror if the motorcycle is riding to the left side of the lane. If the vehicle immediately in front of a motorcycle rider stops suddenly, the motorcyclist should apply his brakes and steer to the right or left side. Try to stay in your lane. Don't create your own lane. It's dangerous and it's illegal. Use of headlights. State law requires that all persons operating motorcycles or motor-driven cycles on public streets and highways have the headlight of the motorcycles turned on at all times when the vehicles are in use. Automobile drivers can see a lighted headlight in an oncoming traffic lane long before they are able to recognize a motorcycle and its rider. The use of headlights also make motorcyclists more noticeable to drivers traveling in the same direction. They are less likely to pull out into a traffic lane occupied by a motorcycle in order to pass some other vehicle. How to avoid trouble. The biggest dangers facing you as a rider are 1. Oncoming cars that turn left in front of you, and 2. Cars on side streets that pull out into your lane. Never count on eye contact as a sign that a driver has seen you and will yield the right of way. All too often a driver looks right at a motorcyclist and still fails to see him. The only eyes you can really count on are your own. The best way to avoid trouble is to see it coming as soon as possible. Experienced riders make a practice of looking far ahead. On city streets, they scan the road from one half to a full block ahead. On the highway, they look as far ahead as they can see clearly. Experienced riders don't just stare off into space. They keep track of what's happening right ahead of them as well. By looking far as well as near, they get a complete picture of the situation ahead and leave themselves plenty of time to adjust to problems. Thus, they can spot and handle trouble without having to make a panic stop or a sudden swerve that can cause a collision. Here's what to look for while scanning the road ahead. Road conditions. Keep checking the road surface ahead for slippery spots, bad bumps, broken pavement, loose gravel, wet leaves, or objects in your path. Traffic conditions. When there is a car directly in front of you, look over or through the car for traffic stopping or turning further down the road. Check the roadside for cars that may pull away from the curb or cut into your lane from side streets or driveways. Escape routes. Look for open space where you can leave the road in a hurry if you have to. Scanning the road and roadside for escape spots is most important when you are riding in heavy traffic. Get in a position to see. As a motorcycle rider, you can put yourself in a position to see things that a car driver cannot see. Moving to the right portion of your lane before a left-hand curve and staying on that side until you come out of the curve allows you to spot oncoming traffic. On right-hand curves, a left center position is best. This allows you to see and be seen better. On curves. You can move from one portion of a lane to another to get a better view through a curve. Moving to the right portion of your lane before a left-hand curve and staying on that side until you come out of the curve lets you spot traffic coming towards you as soon as possible. On right-hand curves, a left center position is best. It lets you see oncoming cars early without putting you so far left that you can run the danger of being hit by a car that tries to cut the curve by drifting into your lane. At blind intersections. An intersection is anywhere a driveway, alley, or road meets another road. Blind intersections can make it hard to see danger coming from the side. If you have a stop sign, stop there first. Then edge forward and stop again, just short of where the cross-traffic lane meets your lane. From that position, you can lean your body forward and look around buildings, parked cars, or bushes to see if anything is coming. Just make sure your front wheel stays out of the cross lane of travel while you're looking. At the roadside, angle your motorcycle so that you can see in both directions without straining and without having any part of the cycle in the lane of travel. Angling your motorcycle so that you can get a clear view in both directions is particularly important if you plan to turn across a lane of traffic. When vehicles turn left. One of the major causes of collisions involving motorcycles is when automobiles or other vehicles turning left into a driveway, parking lot, or side street disregard an oncoming motorcycle. You, as a motorcyclist, must be alert to avoid this situation. Watch every vehicle approaching you and look for signs the driver is turning without having seen you. Ease off the throttle and be ready to stop quickly or turn defensively if necessary. Also, watch carefully if you are attempting to pass a vehicle that may turn left and push you into opposing traffic. Watch for roadsides. driveways, or other places that might require you to be especially careful. Trouble at stop signs. Never take for granted that a vehicle will stop for a stop sign just because it's there. Many don't, and hundreds of collisions occur every year as a result. Don't get caught in the middle. You should always keep a safe distance between yourself and the vehicles in front of and behind you. Try to regulate the distance between yourself and the vehicle behind you. If the vehicle following you insists on tailgating, your best bet is to pull over when it is safe to do so and let the vehicle pass. Your vision is greatly reduced when you are following other vehicles too closely. By riding too closely to them, you may fail to see an object or condition in the road ahead and may strike a hole or debris in the roadway as a result. You should never be closer than the distance it will take to stop if the vehicle you are following stops suddenly. Group riding. The proper formation for group motorcycle riding is a staggered pattern. This way, cyclists can be more easily seen by motorists approaching from the opposite direction. If you are riding in a group at night, a staggered pattern lessens the chances that you will be mistaken for an automobile by approaching motorists. Side-by-side riding should be avoided because it reduces the space for maneuvering available to each operator. When traveling in a group in the staggered formation, each cyclist should be careful to maintain the proper following distance at all times. Staggered formation. Riding in a staggered formation is the best way to keep ranks close and yet maintain an adequate space cushion. In a staggered formation, the leader rides to the left side of the lane, while the second rider stays a little behind and rides to the right side of the lane. A third rider would take the left position. The fourth rider would be in normal position behind the second rider. See visual aid. This formation keeps the group close and keeps each rider safe distance from others ahead, behind, and to the sides. A staggered formation can be used safely on an open highway. However, it is best to move into a single file formation when taking curves, making turns, or entering or leaving a highway. Avoid riding side by side. Use the staggered formation when traveling in a group. Passing in formation. When riders in a staggered formation want to pass, they should do it one at a time. First, the lead rider should pull out and pass when it is safe. After passing, the leader should return to the left position and keep up the passing speed until he has opened up room for the next rider. As soon as the first rider has passed safely, the second rider should move up to the left position and watch for a safe chance to pass. After passing, this rider should return to the right position and open up room for the next rider. Some people suggest that the leader should move to the right side after passing a vehicle. This is not a good idea. By taking up a right lane position, the leader would encourage the second rider to pass and cut back in before a large enough cushion of space has been opened up in front of the passed vehicle. It's safer if each rider waits until there is enough room ahead of the passed vehicle to allow the rider to move into the same position held before the pass. Riders in staggered formation should pass one at a time. Passengers and cargo. Part of the fun of owning and operating a motorcycle is taking others to ride, but be certain you do it safely. Carrying passengers or any other load alters the handling characteristics of your motorcycle. An extra burden is placed on the novice rider, and even an experienced rider still has to be more careful in this situation. If you want to carry a passenger on a motorcycle, you must take some special considerations. Be sure you have the necessary experience and know-how to carry a passenger. Your motorcycle should be designed and equipped to carry an extra rider. All packages should be strapped to the carrying rack. You may not carry any package or articles which prevent you from keeping both hands on the handlebars. Instruct your passenger to lean with you when turning, not against you. A leaning passenger can actually steer a motorcycle. Caution the passenger not to lean except when you do. Know how to compensate if your passenger leans the wrong way or at the wrong time. If under 21 years of age, your passenger must wear a helmet and face shield. Loose clothing or equipment such as shoelaces, pant legs, and scarves can become entangled in the chains or spokes, so check your passenger's clothing carefully before riding. Never allow a passenger to ride side to saddle. The passenger should always ride behind you and should hold firmly and securely onto your waist, hips, midsection, or the hand grips provided on some cycles. The passenger should avoid unnecessary distraction or dismounting until told to do so. Do not carry a passenger unless the motorcycle is equipped with a saddle and foot pegs for 2 persons. Remind the passenger to keep his or her feet on the passenger's foot pegs at all times. Remember to ride at slower speeds. Give yourself extra time and distance to slow down and stop. Handling hazards and dangerous surfaces. You must be constantly alert in residential areas for children and other pedestrians who may dart from between parked cars or from behind other obstacles that block your vision. Animals, particularly dogs that like to chase motorcycles, are a hazard to you. Always be ready to act quickly if a pedestrian or animal appears in your path. You should also be constantly alert for automobiles and trucks backing from driveways, which pose a special hazard for motorcycle riders. Raised pavement markers placed on center lanes and at other locations may be hazardous for motorcyclists if crossed at an angle or while leaning into a turn. Handling dangerous surfaces. Your chances of falling increase whenever you ride across slippery surfaces, uneven surfaces or obstacles, railroad tracks, grooves, and gratings. Motorcycles handle better when ridden on surfaces giving good traction. Surfaces that provide poor traction include wet pavement, gravel roads or places where sand and gravel have collected on paved roads. A motorcycle is more stable on pavement than it is on gravel. Mud, snow, and ice. Lane markings and steel plates and manhole covers, especially when wet. Handling slippery surfaces. There are a number of things you must do to ride safely on slippery surfaces. Reduce speed. Slow down before you get to a slippery surface. Your motorcycle needs more distance to stop. By going slower, you can stop and turn more gradually, lessening your chances of skidding. Avoid sudden moves. On slippery surfaces, any sudden change in speed or direction can cause a skid. Speed up, shift gears, turn and brake as little and as smoothly as possible. Use both brakes. Don't be afraid to use the front brake as well as the rear brake when making a quick stop on wet pavement. The front brake is still more effective than the rear brake, even on a slippery surface. Just be careful to apply it gradually and avoid locking up the front wheel. Don't squeeze the brake lever too hard. Avoid slippery areas. Wet wooden surfaces or wet leaves in the fall can be slippery as a patch of ice. Avoid them when possible. If not, be sure to drive as slowly as possible and stay off the brakes to avoid skidding. Try to find the best surface available and use it. Ride in the tire tracks left by cars. Watch for oil spots when you stop or park. Stay away from the edge of the road, particularly when making sharp turns at intersections and when getting on or off interstates at high speeds. Dirt and gravel tend to collect among the sides of the road, especially on curves and ramps leading to and from highways. Try to stay on the driest, least slippery part of the lane at all times. Rain dries and snow melts faster on some sections of road than on others. Uneven surfaces and obstacles. Watch for uneven surfaces such as bumps, broken pavement, potholes, or railroad tracks. If you have to ride over them, or obstacles such as a piece of tire tread or tailpipe, here's what you should do. Slow down to reduce the jolt. Make sure the motorcycle is straight up. Rise slightly off the seat with your weight on the foot pegs so you can absorb the shock with your knees and elbows. Rising off the seat will cut your chances of being thrown off the bike. However, controlling the throttle can be somewhat tricky. Practice this technique in a safe area, such as a deserted parking lot, before you try to do it on street. If you ride over an object on the street, it's a good idea to pull off the road and check your tires and rims for damage before going any further. Grooves and gratings. When you ride over rain grooves or metal bridge gratings, the motorcycle shakes. It's an uneasy, wandering feeling, but it's generally not dangerous. The best thing to do is to relax, stay on course, maintain speed, and ride straight across. Some riders make the mistake of trying to cross these surfaces at an angle. This may reduce the uneasy feeling, but it also forces the rider to zigzag to stay in lane. The zigzag is far more dangerous than the wandering feeling. Always be ready to act quickly if a pedestrian or animal crosses your path.
Motorcycling laws and information. The following laws apply almost entirely to motorcyclists and should be well known to every motorcycle operator. 1. A person shall ride a motorcycle only while sitting astride the seat, facing forward with one leg on each side of the motorcycle. 2. No person shall operate a motorcycle while carrying any package, bundle, or other article which prevent him from keeping both hands on the handlebars. No operator shall carry any person, nor shall any person ride in a position that will interfere with the operation and control of the motorcycle or the view of the operator. 4. A person riding a motorcycle shall attach himself or the motorcycle to any other vehicle on the roadway. 5. All motorcycles are entitled to full use of a lane, and no motor vehicle shall be driven in such a manner as to deprive any motorcycle of the full use of the lane. This shall not apply to motorcycles operated two abreast in a single lane. 6. The operator of a motorcycle shall not overtake and pass in the same lane occupied by the vehicle being overtaken. 7. No person shall operate a motorcycle between lanes of traffic or between adjacent lanes or rows of vehicles. Items 6 and 7 shall not apply to police officers in the performance of their official duties. Motorcycles shall not be operated more than two abreast in a single lane. 9. Any motorcycle carrying a passenger other than in a sidecar or enclosed cab shall be equipped with footrests for such passengers. 10. No person shall operate a motorcycle unless it is equipped with a rear view mirror that will afford the operator ample vision to the rear at all times. 11. Every person operating a motorcycle shall be granted all the rights and shall be subjected to all the duties applicable to the drivers of motor vehicles, except as to the special regulations and or other provisions of law which by their nature would not apply. 12. Any persons who operate a motorcycle or motor-driven cycle on public streets or highways shall, while so engaged, have the headlights of such motorcycle or motor-driven cycle turn on and the light burning. 13. Any persons under 21 years of age who operates or rides a motorcycle or motor-driven cycle must wear an improved motorcycle helmet. Such helmets must be equipped with either a neck or chin strap and be reflectorized on both sides with at least 4 square inches of reflectorized material, provided the helmet is not constructed of a reflectorized material. 14. Any persons under 21 years of age who operates a motorcycle or motor-driven cycle must wear goggles or face shield affixated to a protective helmet or have a windshield affixated to the front of the cycle. 15. If a motorcycle is 5 brake horsepower or less, it may not be ridden on limited access highways, freeways such as the interstate highways. Some points to remember. 1. Know your motorcycle before you begin riding. Know its controls and make certain it is adjusted for you. 2. When learning, choose a mature, experienced rider as your instructor. 3. It takes time to become a safe, proficient driver. You will need to practice so you don't try to learn everything at one time. 4. When you have a choice, avoid heavily traveled streets. 5. Before every trip, make certain your cycle is in sound mechanical condition. 6. Know and obey all traffic laws and rules of the road. 7. Drive defenselessly at all times. As a motorcyclist, you must never assume you have been seen by the other motorists. 8. Watch for road hazards that are particularly dangerous to motorcyclists. 9. Keep a cool head. Never show off or ride recklessly. 10. Ride with increased caution at night and when roads are wet. 11. Always wear your protective helmet, properly fastened, and proper eye protection. Laws that apply to all other motor vehicles operations apply to motorcycle operations. Keep your motorcycle in good condition. The rider is responsible for the motorcycle being in proper working order. Have it checked regularly and know as much about your motorcycle as you possibly can. The owner's manual is key to doing this. You should carry it with you at all times and follow the maintenance schedule it suggests. You will need a toolkit for use at home or when you are on the road. Carrying it with you may save you from walking if you have a breakdown. In your kit, you should carry spare parts, including spark plugs, fuses, and tire repair material. Before you ride, always check your motorcycle, brakes and steering, tires, oil, and fuel levels, chains, sprockets, cables, and lights. Your life depends on your machine. Be certain it is in the best possible condition. Motorcycle test. The test consists of several exercises designed to measure your ability to perform basic vehicle controls and hazard response skills. Most of the experience involves speed of approximately 15 miles per hour. You will be scored on time and distance standards as well as path and foot violations. The test may be ended for a point accumulation, falling or dropping the motorcycle, committing an unsafe act, or failure to follow directions. The following diagrams illustrate the maneuvers you will be asked to perform. Sharp turns and U-turns to the left. You will be asked to accelerate straight ahead and make a left sharp turn, staying inside the boundaries marked by the yellow L lines. You must not put your foot down or cross the line. Once you've completed the sharp turn, continue around to the far side of the course and ride back towards the start of the course. Then, you will make a left U-turn, staying inside the boundaries marked by the yellow solid lines or yellow dashed entry line and solid exit line. You must not put a foot down or cross the lines. Stop in a straight line after completing the U-turn and wait for further directions. You will lose points for putting your foot down or path violations. Sharp turns and U-turns to the right. You will be asked to accelerate straight ahead and make a right sharp turn, staying inside the boundaries marked by the yellow L lines. Do not put a foot down or cross the lines. Once you have completed the turn, continue around to the far side of the course and ride back toward the start of the course. Then you will make a right U-turn, staying inside the boundaries marked by the yellow solid lines or yellow solid entry line and dashed exit line. Do not put a foot down or cross the line. Stop in a straight line after completing the U-turn and wait for further directions. You will lose points for putting your foot down or path violations. Cone weave. Regular stop. You will ride to the right of your first cone, to the left of the second cone, and so on. Weave past all 5 cones without touching or skipping a cone or putting your foot down. After rounding the last cone, continue around to the far side of the course, ride down the perimeter toward the start of the course, make a smooth, non-skidding stop with your front tire inside the white box. Once stopped in the box, your front tire cannot be touching any painted lines. You will lose points for hitting or skipping a cone, putting a foot down, or stopping before or after your front tire touching the box. Sudden stops. You will accelerate straight toward the braking area, stabilize your speed between 12 and 20 miles per hour by the time you reach the first red line. Maintain a steady speed for your first red line until you reach the second red line. When your front tire passes the second red line, stop as quickly as you can and safely. Remain stopped until instructed to move. You will not be assessed points for skidding. You will lose points for failing to stop in specified distance, failing to use both brakes, or failing to obtain proper speed or anticipate the stop. Cornering. You will ride through the multiple curves marked by the white lines at a speed between 10 to 15 miles an hour. You must stay within the boundaries marked by the curved white lines while slightly accelerating through the curve. After exiting the curved lines, you may slow down and then turn in either direction to return to the end of the course. You will lose points for path violations, decelerating, or failing to obtain the proper speed. Obstacle avoidance. You will accelerate toward the path marked by the red lines. Stabilize your speed between 12 and 18 miles per hour by the time you reach the first red line. Maintain a steady speed from the first red line until you reach the second red line. When your front tire passes the second red line, swerve to avoid the obstacle box marked by the yellow lines. Avoid crossing the yellow obstacle box while staying inside of the yellow sideline. Once past the sideline, stop and wait for further instruction. You will lose points for hitting obstacle box or sideline, failure to obtain proper speed, or braking during the swerve. Motorcycle with sidecar skills test. Safely operating a motorcycle with a sidecar depends largely on your knowledge and skills. The skills for a motorcycle with a sidecar operation require a lot of practice. If you have just learned to handle a motorcycle with a sidecar and have very little riding experience, the most important part of learning to ride is still ahead. Before you go out on the street with other traffic, there are certain basic skills needed for your safety to make sure you have the basic skills to ride. You will be given a riding test. When you report for your test, it is recommended that you have protective clothing that covers your body, gloves, boots, long, sturdy trousers, long sleeve jacket or shirt. An approved helmet and eye protection are required for operators under the age of 21. During the on-cycle test, you will be graded on how safely you handled your motorcycle with a sidecar. For example, you may be tested on selecting safe speeds while going straight and turning, picking the correct path and staying there, making normal and quick stops, making normal and quick turns. The examiner will score you on factors related to your safety, such as distance, did you stop in the space allowed, time, did you turn fast enough to handle the situation, or position, did you keep the cycle on the proper path. The test will end immediately if you commit an unsafe act, disregard, or fail to understand instructions. Vehicle placement, cone weave, and turn. Ride to the left and the first cone, to the right of the second cone, and so on. Weave past all three cones without hitting or skipping a cone. Your inside wheel must stay between the cone and curved line, not hitting or skipping any of them. After rounding the last cone, make a left-hand turn through the curve marked by the lines at approximately 10 miles an hour. You must stay between the lines of the curve. Points will be assessed for stalling the engine, hitting or skipping a cone, riding too slowly, path violation inside, tire more than 4 feet from weave cone, or any tire outside the curve boundary. Cornering and normal stop. Ride toward the left of the curve, quickly accelerating, brake prior to making a right-hand turn through the curve at approximately 10 miles an hour. You must stay between the lines and the curve. After completing the turn, the ride to the end of the course and make a smooth stop without skidding the tires, and with your front tire inside the box, your front tire must not touch the painted lines. You will be timed from the time you start moving forward until you are stopped near the box. Points will be assessed for stalling the engine, skidding tires, stopping before or after with your front tire touching the box, riding too slowly, quick stop. Position your vehicle with your front tire on the T at the end of the course. On signal, accelerate straight up the path and shift to your second gear. Stabilize your speed between 15 and 20 miles per hour by the time you reach the first line. Maintain a steady speed. When your front tire passes the second line, stop as quickly as you safely can while downshifting to the first gear. Remain stopped. Points will be assessed for stalling the engine, failure to stop in specified distance, failure to use both brakes, failure to obtain proper speed. Obstacle avoidance, swerve. Position your vehicle with the front tire on the line or T at other end of the course. On signal, accelerate straight up the path, stabilize your speed between 12 and 18 miles per hour. By the time you reach the first line, maintain a steady speed. After your front tire passes the second line, swerve to the right, avoid the obstacle line, and stay inside the boundary line. Do not touch either line. Once you have passed the lines making the box, stop and wait for further instructions. Points will be assessed for stalling the engine, tires crossing the lines, improper speed. Generally, you will be evaluated on your ability to control the cycle, speed, maneuverability, left turns, right turns, quick stops, straight line riding, posture, use of clutch, brakes, and overall attention that can be observed and scored. You can stop the test anytime you desire. You should not attempt an exercise that you do not feel you can perform. If an exercise is too difficult for you or you cannot safely follow instructions, tell the examiner. You will be allowed to come back another day. You have taken more time to practice. If the motorcycle with a sidecar is wider than 6 feet, let the examiner know before beginning the skills test. The examiner may need to make additional modifications to the skills test pad. Mopeds. Moped riding in South Carolina. The 1986 session of the General Assembly of the State of South Carolina enacted a law regulating the licensing of moped operators. The regulations govern the equipment required and proper use of moped. Following are excerpts from that law that help provide with basic understanding. What is a moped? A moped is a cycle with pedals or without pedals and with a motor of not more than 50 cubic centimeters. Its power will not exceed 2 brake horsepower, and the motor is not capable of propelling the vehicle at a speed excess of 30 miles an hour on level ground. The power drive system must function directly or automatically without clutching or shifting after the engine is engaged. Moped standard equipment: toolkit, hand levers, gas tank, headlight, reflectors, air cleaner, motor, pedal, reflectors, taillight, rear carrier. Moped equipment: 1. Operator pedals. If the moped is equipped with pedals, 2. At least one rear view mirror. 3. Operating running lights. Lights must be on whenever moped is in operation. 4. Brake lights activated when either brake is used. 5. Driver and passenger must ride upon permanent regular seats and not carry more persons than the moped is designed to carry. The moped operator. To operate a moped on the public highway and streets, you must be at least 14 years of age, have a valid driver's license, motorcycle license, a permit, or a valid moped operator's license. A person whose driver's license has been suspended for 6 months or less is not required to obtain a moped's operator license or possesses a valid driver's license during the period of suspension when operating a moped. No persons may operate a moped at a speed in excess of 25 miles an hour. A person who violates the provisions of this section is guilty of a misdemeanor and upon conviction will be fined. A person is eligible for a moped operator's license without regard to his eligibility for or status of any other driver's license or permit. The department may suspend, revoke, or cancel a moped operator's license only for violations committed while operating a moped. A moped operator's license may be suspended, revoked, or canceled in the same manner and upon the same grounds for which any other motor vehicle operator's license or permit may be suspended, revoked, or canceled. Obtaining a moped license. Documents required to obtain a moped license are the same as those needed for Class D, E, F, and M. An applicant for a moped operator's license must successfully pass an eye examination and a test of the applicant's ability to read and understand highway traffic signs and knowledge of street laws. To prepare for this test, an applicant should read and understand the sections of this handbook pertaining to the rules of the road, signs and signals, motorcycles, and the general information. The department may require further examination as it considers necessary to determine the applicant's fitness to operate a moped on highways. A license will expire on the licensee's birthday every 5 years. It must be signed by the licensee and be in his or her possession when operating the moped. Special regulations. Part 1. The department may not issue a beginner's permit or special restricted license to any person convicted of a second or subsequent violation of operating a moped on the public road while underage, until the person is 15 and 1/2 years old. 2. The department may suspend, revoke, or cancel a moped operator's license only for violations committed while operating a moped. 3. Any person who sells a moped must clearly and conspicuously label each moped with its specifications. Any seller who fails to label a moped as such is guilty of a misdemeanor, punishable by a fine and/or imprisonment. 4. The moped must have a permanent and regular seat attached. No moped may be used to carry more persons at one time than the number for which it was designed and equipped. 5. It is unlawful for any persons to sell a moped for use on the public highway and streets of the state to operate a moped on the streets of this state without at least one rear view mirror, operable running lights, and brake lights. Rear view mirror, operating running lights, which are operable when either brake is deployed. 6. The operator of the moped must have the operating lights turned on at all times while the moped is in operation on the public highways. 7. It is unlawful for any persons to modify or change the equipment of a moped so that the vehicle exceeds 2 brake horsepower and produces speeds in excess of 30 miles per hour on level ground. 8. Any person who sells, solicits, or advertises the sale of moped shall clearly and conspicuously label each moped with its specifications, including but not limited to the brake horsepower of the motor, the maximum speed of the vehicle on level ground. Any seller of mopeds who fails to label a moped or who knowingly sells Knowingly labels a motorcycle or motor-driven cycle as a moped is guilty of a misdemeanor. Upon conviction, must be fined each vehicle which is incorrectly labeled and each moped which is not labeled in a separate violation. Safety. If you will be riding at night, you must have a light on the front and a rear tail light. Mopeds do not have to undergo an annual inspection, but you should check them before every trip to make sure they are in good operating condition. The law does require that moped operators under 21 years of age wear helmets, goggles, or a face shield. It would be an intelligent decision on your part to also wear protective clothing. Traffic signs, signals, and markings. Traffic signs and signals are essential to highway safety. South Carolina traffic signs, signals, and pavement markers conform to the nationally recommended standards. In many cases, the signs use easily recognized symbols or pictures rather than words. The following section shows a sampling of signs you will see on the highway, including a number of important regulatory warning and guide signs. The driver must know the meaning of all the signs to be able to drive safely. There are 7 basic shape signs, each shape having a different meaning. Each color also has a particular meaning. For your own safety, learn the signs that are shown and explain on these pages. Regulatory signs. The stop sign. The stop sign. Most important to your safety is the only 8-sided octagonal sign you will see. A vehicle approaching a stop sign shall stop at a clearly marked spot, a marked or unmarked crosswalk, but if none, then at a point nearest to the intersection where the driver can see both directions without entering the cross traffic in front of him or her. The 3-sided yield sign means you are approaching an intersection where you must yield to any lanes you intend to enter or cross, approaching from the right or left. The sign is also found at unsignaled railroad crossings where you must yield to approaching trains. Whenever the sign is present, it is your responsibility to slow down, look to the right or left, and yield to oncoming traffic. The yield sign is also found at unsignaled railroad crossings where you must yield to approaching trains. The do not enter sign, which you will see particularly on ramps to the interstates, tells you that you must not enter the road or highway because it is used only for traveling in the opposite direction. The wrong way sign tells you that you are entering or traveling on a one-way road in the wrong direction. You should immediately stop and reverse your direction. Anytime you see a sign bearing a red circle with a slash marked across a black arrow or other symbol, it means don't do whatever is shown by the arrow or other symbol. The no U-turn sign means you must not make a U-turn. Stop, yield, do not enter, wrong way, no U-turn. The no left turn sign has a red circle and a red slash mark across a black arrow pointing left, means you must not make a left turn. The no right turn sign has a red circle and a red slash marked across a black arrow pointing to the right. This means you must not make a right turn. The keep right on traffic island sign has an arrow curving to the right around a traffic island bullet-like symbol. On the left appears when you approach a divided highway or traffic island where traffic must keep right. It can also show the traffic must keep left by having the arrow pass on the left side of the island. The prohibited sign, which have been placed on all controlled access intersections in South Carolina, tells pedestrians and drivers of slow-moving vehicles that they are prohibited from using the interstate. The minimum speed limit sign indicates a minimum speed at which it is safe to travel. This is usually 40 or 50 miles per hour. Traffic moving slower than the minimum speed limit may not use the highway. The no passing sign declares that passing is legal when indicated by the pavement markings. No left turn, no right turn, keep right of traffic island, prohibited, minimum speed limit, no passing. The left turn only sign is used over a lane to show that all traffic in that lane must turn left. The left turn or straight movement permitted sign is used over a lane where a left turn or straight movement is permitted. Similar signs are used to restrict lanes to the right turns and other combinations of traffic movements. The no turn on red is used at some intersections to tell you that you cannot turn right on red at the intersection. The law permits you to turn right on a red traffic signal unless a sign prohibits it. If a no turn on red sign is not present, you must first stop, look both ways, and yield to any other vehicles or pedestrians lawfully in or near the intersection. The slower traffic keep right sign means slower traffic should drive in the right outside lane and faster traffic should take the inside left lane. The maximum speed limit sign tells you that the speed limit is 65 miles an hour. However, signs showing lower limits appear on some roads. Minimum speed limit sign. When used, the minimum speed limit sign is always posted directly beneath the maximum speed limit sign. Left turn only, left turn or straight movement permitted. No turn on red, slower traffic keep right, maximum. Warning signs. The signal ahead sign tells you that you are approaching a traffic signal and should slow down or be prepared to stop. The two-way traffic sign has two arrows pointing in opposite directions, which means that you are on or approaching a street or highway carrying two-way traffic. These roads will usually be marked with broken yellow center lines, and you must drive to the right of that line except when passing. The slippery when wet sign has a picture of a skidding car. That means the road on which you are traveling can be slippery when wet and that you should reduce speed. The hill sign shows a truck going down an incline, indicating you are approaching a hill. The merging traffic sign tells you that you are approaching a location where traffic may be entering from another roadway, and you will be merging with this traffic. This sign shows that traffic may be entering from your right. The divided highway, road, begins sign tells you that a divided highway is ahead. It has two arrows pointing in opposite directions with a traffic island, bullet-shaped symbol, at the top of the sign. You must move to the right and should not pass within this area. The divided highway, road, end signs tells you that a divided highway is coming to an end and that you must be prepared to meet traffic coming toward you in an opposing lane. It has two arrows pointing in opposite directions with a traffic island, bullet-shaped symbol at the bottom of the sign. The bridge height sign is very important to the driver of a truck or van that may be too tall to drive under a bridge, having only 12 feet 6 inches clearance. These signs tell the amount of space between the road and the overpass. The school crossing ahead sign is a neon green pentagon-shaped sign with two children's figures with the word ahead underneath it. This is a very important sign that lets you know you are approaching a school. When you see one of these, slow down and be prepared to stop. The school children crossing here sign is a neon green pentagon-shaped sign with two children's figures with a downward pointing arrow underneath it. This is a very important sign that tells you that children may be crossing the road at or near that point going to and from school. A sign shaped like a one-room schoolhouse means drive slowly and carefully and be prepared to stop. The pedestrian crossing sign is a neon green diamond-shaped sign with an adult tells you that the location where pedestrians often cross is located ahead. It cautions you to drive slowly and carefully and be prepared to stop. Signal ahead, two-way traffic, slippery when wet, hill, merging traffic, divided highway, road begins, divided highway, road ends, bridge height, school crossing ahead, school children crossing here, pedestrian crossing. The deer crossing sign shows a large deer leaping in the air and warns you that deer often cross the road in that area. The driver should be on the lookout for this animal, particularly at night. The left intersection ahead sign gives notice that you are approaching a branch intersection with traffic entering from one side. The crossroad ahead sign gives notice that you are approaching a crossroad. Be prepared to slow down and observe any special speed limit instructions in the event of a car enters or crosses the highway from the side road. The curve ahead sign gives notice that you are approaching a curve. The black line represents the road you are on and the type of curve you can expect, and tells that you must slow down. This particular sign tells you that you must turn left then right. The speed limit for sharp right turn ahead sign tells you must be prepared for a rather sharp turn to the right. The smaller sign, which is displayed on the post beneath the larger sign, shows the highest speed at which you can make the turn safely. Exceeding the speed posted on this type of sign is not only hazardous, but also a traffic violation. The maximum speed limit when exiting interstate sign informs of the highest safe speed at which you may drive on an interchange ramps when leaving the interstate. Deer crossing, left intersection ahead, crossroad ahead, curve ahead, speed limit for sharp right turn ahead, maximum speed when exiting interstate. Railroad crossings. Railroad crossing signs warned about railroad crossings are among the most important a driver needs to know. Some crossings are protected by flashing lights and crossing barriers, gates. But every driver should approach all crossings with caution and always drive safely enough to be able to stop for any railroad crossing. You cannot legally go around barrier gates when they are down or while lights are flashing. Railroad crossing sign. The familiar round sign with a black X and RR for railroad on yellow black background is used in advance of crossing. At the track itself, you will see the standard railroad crossbuck. Side road crosses railroad track sign. This sign indicates that a small side road crosses a railroad track. Be careful when making a turn across the tracks. 3-track railroad crossing ahead. The sign below the crossbuck indicates the number of tracks. The crossbuck is placed at all railroad crossings. Slow down, look and listen before crossing. Yield to any approaching trains. Low ground clearance sign. The sign indicates that a low ground clearance vehicle or trailer may get stuck on the railroad crossing and should avoid it. Railroad crossing. Side road crosses railroad track. 3-track railroad crossing ahead. Low ground clearance. Work zone signs. Whenever road work is performed on the highway, special signs are displayed to advise you and guide you through the work area. Most signs and other traffic control devices associated with work zones are orange. Use caution and lower your speed as you travel through these areas for your safety and the safety of the workers. The road work ahead sign indicates a work zone is ahead. The flagman in 500 feet sign warns you that a flagman is ahead and that you will need to obey the directions that he or she provides. The detour in 1,000 feet sign indicates that you start a detour 1,000 feet ahead. Road work ahead, flagman in 500 feet, detour in 1,000 feet. Guide signs. The miles are numbered from south to north and from west to east on interstate highways. In South Carolina, the numbering for I-20, I-85, and I-95 begins at the Georgia line, I-26 begins at the North Carolina line, and the I-77 begins at Columbia. Incidentally, interchanges in South Carolina are numbered according to the nearest milepost. If you have trouble, give the best directions you can, including the nearest milepost number, which will help to pinpoint your exact location. Exit signs are used on interstates well in advance of the exit taking traffic to another highway. While some exit signs just show the exit number, other exit signs bear the names of the places you may reach by taking the exit. These signs show numbers corresponding to the number of the milepost nearest to the interchange. Exit 33 AB, 56, Metropolis Utopia. Exit 44, 56 East, Metropolis next right, exit 44. The destination sign gives you the distance to each town listed, and arrows point in the direction you must take to get to that town. The interchange sign is used for interchanges having more than one exit ramp. It shows the driver the route and direction in which he would be traveling, as well as the town or city to be reached by taking the exit. Destination: Hartsville, 15. Cherall, 27. Camden, 24. Interchange, exit 33B, 56 West, Utopia. Route markers. When planning a trip, you'll want to know the best route to take, and if you want to safely go and save time and travel cost at the same time, you should plan your trip carefully using a good road map. Each route shown on the map is marked by a number. The route number on the map corresponds with the numbers posted on the highway. Therefore, by choosing from the map the route you want to take, you can reach your chosen destination simply by following the numbers posted on the highway. There are several different highway systems. The routes in each system are posted with a particular type of marker. Mileposts. Green and white mileposts are posted at 1 mile intervals along the interstate routes. They tell you the progress you are making since they are placed at 1 mile intervals along the route. They are useful in reporting locations of collisions, disabled vehicles, and other emergencies. Mile 44. Interstate System Route Marker. This red, white, and blue sign is the standard marker erected on interstate system highways throughout the nation. The sign not only gives the number of the highway, but also the name of the state in which the marker is located. It is used on the highway itself and also on approaches to the highway at or near traffic interchanges. Interstate, South Carolina 26. U.S. Number Route Marker. This sign with black numerals on the familiar U.S. shield is used on all U.S. numbered routes. A U.S. numbered highway, like an interstate system highway, extends into or through more than one state. Such highways are owned and maintained by the states in any case. 40. State Route Marker. A state route is a primarily or main route extending from one major point in South Carolina to another, usually across country lines. SC 97, South Carolina 60. Business and bypass plates. Some U.S. and state routes have a plate mounted over them. A business sign means the route leads them through the town's business area. The bypass sign means the route bypasses the town's business area and therefore is faster. Business bypass. Secondary System Road Marker. This sign is a marker that is used to designate a state secondary system route. The first number after the letter S is the number of the county, and the last number is the road number. There is a separate set of secondary road numbers for each county. You will find only a few of the more important secondary road numbers on your state's primary system map because there are too many secondary roads to show. However, they are all shown on county maps, which may be purchased by mail from the central office of the Department of Transportation. Secondary system roads are local roads, built to serve local traffic in both rural and urban areas. In rural areas, they are not intended as though routes and should not be normally used by drivers who are not familiar with the area. S-11-17. Evacuation route. In the event of a hurricane, an evacuation may be declared for the coastal areas of South Carolina. The evacuation sign indicates the road or highway is used as an evacuation route in this type of emergency. Evacuation route. Pavement markings. A broken yellow line indicates that you are on a two-lane road and can expect oncoming traffic in the lane to the left of the line. Passing is permitted where there is ample passing distance and the opposing lane is clear of traffic. A double yellow line means that it is illegal to cross the markings from either side in order to pass another vehicle. A solid yellow barrier line in your lane with a broken yellow line on the other side of it means that you cannot pass. Traffic in the other lane may pass when it is safe to do so. Broken white lines are used to divide lanes of traffic going in the same direction. This type of marking is frequently seen on wide streets within cities, as well as on interstate highways or other freeways and roadways carrying traffic in one direction. A special type of yellow barrier line is used to mark a median as a refuge area, where vehicles may safely wait to turn left out of the way of other traffic. Each side of the median area is marked with a yellow line and broken yellow line. The solid yellow line is next to the lanes of travel, indicating no passing, but motorists from either direction must cross into the area to wait and turn left. This median area must not be used for travel along the highway at any time. Directional arrows. Pavement arrows shown on this page indicate directions of permitted traffic movement. When approaching intersections where the pavement arrows are used, you should enter the lane where the arrow points in the direction you want to go. If you get in the wrong lane, you should keep going in the direction indicated by the arrow until it is safe to turn off and get back on the street or highway. That will carry you to your destination. Some lanes have double-headed arrows indicating optional lane usage. Lane control signs sometimes are placed above the roadway to supplement the pavement arrows. A straight arrow on the pavement means the lane is only for traffic moving straight ahead and that a vehicle in the lane should not turn either right or left. An arrow pointing to the left means the lane is for left-turning traffic only. An arrow pointing to the right means the lane is for right-turning traffic only. A two-headed arrow with one pointing straight ahead and the other pointing left means traffic in the lane may go straight ahead or turn left. A two-headed arrow with one head pointing straight and the other pointing to the right means traffic in the lane may go straight ahead or turn right. Intersection markings. Most intersections in or near cities will have white pavement markings that indicate where you are to stop when directed by a traffic signal or stop sign. You should stop your vehicle with the front of your tires at the stop line. This will allow vehicles crossing in front of you to pass safely and allow for space for pedestrians to cross also. Stop behind this line when a traffic signal shows red or a stop sign is present. Stop line. Roundabouts and traffic circles. These are found in some areas to help ensure safe passage of traffic through an intersection without necessarily stopping the flow of traffic. A roundabout or traffic circle is a circular intersection with designed features that promote safe and efficient traffic flow. Vehicles travel counterclockwise around a raised center island, with entering traffic yielding the right-of-way to circulating traffic. When entering the roundabout of a traffic circle, you must negotiate a sharp turn, slow your speed to about 15 to 20 miles per hour. Slow speeds aid in the smooth movement of the vehicle into, around, and out of a roundabout. Once in the roundabout, proceed to the appropriate exit following the guidance provided by traffic signs and pavement markings. Roundabouts are generally larger and have lower speeds than traffic circles, but both work the same way. When using roundabouts or traffic circles, slow down as you approach the circle. The roundabout sign above warns of a roundabout or traffic circle. Yield to any traffic in the circle. If another vehicle arrives at the traffic circle at the same time you do, yield to the vehicle if it is on your right. Also yield to pedestrians and bicyclists in the traffic circle or roundabout. Enter a traffic circle to the right, but steer to the left in a counterclockwise direction. Always slow down and prepare to yield when approaching a traffic circle or roundabout. You must turn right to enter a traffic circle or a roundabout and leave again. You must yield to vehicles that are already in the traffic circle or roundabout and to vehicles that are on your right. Some traffic circles and roundabouts have more than one lane. Lane using signs and markings may be displayed during the approach to indicate where you can go in each lane. When you are in a traffic circle or roundabout, you make sure you know where you want to go and are in the proper lane to get there before you enter a traffic circle or roundabout. Do not change lanes or pass any vehicles when in a traffic circle or roundabout. Signals. Green, go light. A green signal light means you may proceed with caution, but does not guarantee safe passage through the intersection. Look in both directions before entering the intersection, then proceed with such care as to avoid hitting any vehicle or pedestrian. Always obey the rules of proper turning or right-of-way, such as yielding to opposing traffic when you are making a left turn on a green light. Always approach a green signal with alertness and be prepared to stop if a yellow caution light appears. In cities where traffic lights are arranged horizontally, green is at the right and red is at the far left. Yellow caution light. The yellow caution light follows the green signal. The yellow light is warning that the signal is about to change and that the red stop signal is about to be shown. Therefore, you should stop your car and wait for the next green light. Traffic situations around us can become critical under these conditions. You must observe and allow for other drivers side, front, and rear when you are approaching a yellow light. Red stop light. A steady red signal light means that you must stop before entering a crosswalk or intersection and remain at a standstill until the green light appears. Unless a sign permits a special movement of traffic to proceed, an exception to this rule permits traffic facing a red signal to turn right except where a sign prohibits a turn on red. When turning on red, you must stop before entering the crosswalk on the near side of the turn, yielding right away to pedestrians lawfully within the adjacent to the crosswalk and to other traffic lawfully using the intersection. Green arrow. A green arrow means you may proceed carefully only in the direction in which the arrow is pointing, but must give the right of way to pedestrians and vehicles already lawfully within the intersection. Often a signal may be associated with a particular lane, and you may travel only in the direction indicated by the signal facing your lane, as in the example below. Yellow arrow. In many cases, the familiar yellow caution light will be used after the green arrow to warn that the red stoplight will appear. In certain cases, as in the example below, a yellow arrow may be used to indicate that the green arrow for a turn has ended and you must obey the signal that next appears. Red arrows. A steady red arrow signal means that you must stop for the direction in which the arrow is pointing before entering crosswalks or intersections that remain stopped until the green arrow appears for the movement. Red arrow, yellow arrow, flashing yellow arrow, green arrow. Flashing yellow arrow. The flashing yellow arrow is a relatively new traffic signal indication in South Carolina. This indication will be displayed at certain signalized intersections and is used to advise motorists that left turns are allowed, but you must first yield to oncoming traffic before making the turn. Flashing red light. A flashing red light requires you to stop completely as at a stop sign and proceed when you can do so safely. Flashing yellow light. Flashing yellow light requires you to slow down to a safe and reasonable speed and to proceed with caution. Finding your local DMV. To find your local DMV, please consult the back of your driver's manual, as you should have been following along with it throughout this recording. Thank you and good luck on your test.